I didn't even look. I thought to myself, oh my, yeah, that's gotta be Bill texting me. And we are live. Okay, well, I want to thank everybody for being so patient while I got this up and running. My name is Mark Monlux, and you're at Epic Sketch Time. Epic Sketch Time is a weekly drawing group. We've been going on for about 8 or 7 years now. First, we were meeting on Google Hangouts, and then we moved over to Zoom during the pandemic. Anyway, we're an hour-long drawing group, and we do meet once a week. Currently, we're meeting on Tuesdays at 4:30. I live in Tacoma, Washington. I've been freelancing as an illustrator since 1985. Feel free to ask me any type of illustration questions or even business questions if you have those. And today my project is I'm going to be working inside Photoshop, creating a deck of playing cards. Bill, I think I let you in first.
Okay, hi, my name is Bill Morse. I'm a freelance illustrator and cartoonist living in Seattle, Washington, and I also do a webcomic called Rhapsodies, which you can see at rhapsodies.wpmorse.com. And today I'll be working on said comic strip.
Katie, you're up next.
Hi, I'm Katie C. You can find me on Instagram at Evil Girlfriend Media. I'm a writer and artist from Bonnie Lake, Washington, and I am finishing a birthday gift, a late birthday gift for someone that is a piece of fan art from Dune from the 80s.
I'm sorry, maybe it's the distance, but it still doesn't look like Patrick Stewart. Still a good picture though.
Thank you. I'm guessing Mark he's on a phone call. I just looked over. Okay. Yeah, honestly, when you look at the picture of him screaming, it doesn't really look like Patrick Stewart either.
Yeah. I mean, I apologize, but it's reminding me of one of Mike Judge's characters from King of the Hill.
Well, I think it's the style too, because it's a little different. Painting on the paper, it gives you a whole different well, maybe it's just me learning to adjust to the paper versus the canvas.
Yeah.
It
but
does
the
give
pug
it.
has a wonderful why me look.
Yeah, I got to work on his face a little bit more, but
I think the pug looks great as is.
As I said, I like the why me look.
Well, I took it more from an actual picture of his pug versus what the pug looks like in the picture, because the pug in the picture almost looks like not necessarily why me, but more just like almost unenthused. But anyway, yeah, we can go on about this. I know there's other people in need.
I'm guessing the dog in the movie is doped to the gills, but with all the little explosions going on around it.
Probably that was
somebody probably snuck the little puppy some NyQuil that morning.
He does have kind of an uninterested look on his face, even though there's supposed to be this big battle scene happening. So
that phone call was an artist calling me up, and they were asking how to set up their bank account using Square. And mainly because I've been nagging them to do it, because they've been using my Square account to sell their posters. And after, 4 or 5 months of that, it gets kind of old. I'm saying, dude. And he says, yeah, I'll have it ready the next time. So he's really trying hard to have it ready by the next time, which is this Friday, because he's going to be selling movie posters at the Grand Cinemas. I started a little collective here in Tacoma, and we do movie posters for our local theaters. Feel free to take this idea and do it in your town. You just approach them and say, hey, I represent a small group of artists. We would love to do movie posters of your upcoming midnight showings. Like, this is a local theater. They show odd films. And what we do is we don't charge them anything for this. They allow us to sell the prints in their lobby, and they're able to use us as a little bit of promotions. And then most of us have tables at conventions, and we then sell the prints at our conventions or online. But I would say that a third of us do that, and the other 2/3 just like doing it for fun. Anyway, so he is doing Akira, which, yeah, Akira, one of the pivotal movies of both body horror and starred the cyberpunk, yes. So I highly recommend Akira to those who haven't seen it yet, and his poster looks pretty good.
Yeah, I used to have a bootleg VHS copy of that, and I really need to get the DVD because it's a absolutely beautiful piece of craft that holds up.
Unlike Meet the Feebles, which is about the only thing I have that was bootlegged on VHS anymore, though I think I have some old driver safety films that were banned in the 50s because they were too violent. Both of those were supposed to be animes that I bought on the black market. But, this is back in the day when everything was done with, you'd find a lead, you send a letter, they'd send you back a Xerox that had been Xerox so many times you could barely read the letters on it. And it would tell them what movies they had and at what prices. And you would write to them, say, okay, here's a check. I want this and this. And you'd start off with just a couple to see whether or not they would actually deliver. And then usually they delivered, but I tried this one source one time, and not only were the VH tapes so almost unviewable because they were all wobbly and just awful, but they were also the wrong films. They were, one VHS tapes was the Meet the Feebles, and the other one was the auto driving safety films. Anyway, I hope that Catherine and Perry, guys, just open up your mics, introduce yourselves if you want to. If not, that's okay. And feel free to type in or ask any questions that you might have. Otherwise, you're just going to be seeing a lot of faces. Bill, unless you have something to screen share and show off right now.
Oh, it's still just lining up the sketch part of it. But if anybody is curious on that, it's just a second. Oh. And you've disabled everything.
Oh, it would help if I undisable that. There we go.
Okay. So anyway, here's the work in progress that I'm I usually, these days, I usually do most of my pencil work, quote, pencil work on Patreon, though. The screen sharing function on the Mac has improved enough that it doesn't have the problems with pressure sensitive brushes that it used to have. So, which allows me to do sketching, start the drawings on that end if I want to, but Procreate is such a good enough. And I said Pinterest instead of Procreate, didn't I?
I think you did.
Okay, yeah. I meant Procreate, but Procreate is such a nice, intuitive, feels like you have a sketchbook quality to it that no need to change back just yet. And here's the other one I'll be working on. But one awesome thing with the screen sharing between Procreate and screen sharing with Clip Studio Paint, I can, if I know what I'm going to be drawing, I can knock off two of these easily each day. And if I'm really on a roll, 3. But anyway, that's where I am on it. I'm having my traditional case of creative block that happens every time I do a relatively long and ambitious storyline, which and since I just finished last year's Christmas story, that's about as long and ambitious a storyline as I frequently get. But I was mostly happy with it this year. I don't know if anybody else has followed it enough to have an opinion one way or the other.
I thought it was a little similar to one of your past storylines, but that was because a lot of the same characters popped up and it seemed to be a continuation of it.
A little bit. Yeah, it was sort of using the same location as one of the other ones.
And I think that's perfectly fine. And for me, that just made it flow a little bit better because sometimes you try to rush too much through at a time.
Yeah.
You try to make the scope of the story larger than the time frame.
Yes, and a lot of times and there's been quite a few times where I misjudged when another story would happen and I didn't have as much space to work with as I would like. So for example, the one with the Mars story, I didn't realize I was letting the story before it run long. So I only had 4 days for them to get to the location and cram in all the exposition. But this year, while I didn't have as many of the beats of the story as I'd like, I pretty much had it marked off on my calendar in a very bright highlight of, I don't know whether the story starts at this point or not, but all other stories have to be done by then so that they don't get in the way.
I joined a Facebook group called Monster Mondays.
Oh, I'm on that. I'm on the mailing list. I haven't entered anything yet.
And I thought that'd be fun just to do a quick drawing once a week of some monsters. But I totally forgot to do it this Monday. And so I thought, okay, well, maybe if I put a monster in the buffer. So I started drawing something, and I'll show it real quick. But I think I might have to just put this one aside. Because it's not really a monster per se. Let's get this going. It's just a crab reading cards. And I thought, okay, that's not very monstrous. So I think maybe I'll come up with something else.
Huh. It's for a second there, it was reminded. Are you familiar with a comic book called Kaiju Max by what's his name? Xandar. I'll remember his last name in a bit. He worked with Alan Moore quite a bit.
No, I'm not familiar with that work.
If you're a kaiju fan, you'll find it hilarious. Essentially, the main premise of it is that Monster Island is a prison. So it's essentially Oz meets Monster Island. And this is reminding me that in the third season of it, one of the characters was a giant hermit crab that was on death row, and the humans who were living inside the hermit crab were mounting its defense.
Okay.
You have to. It's really something you have to read to get to believe it, but it's hilarious. It's a great both in solid storyline and monster geekery. But along with the monsters, it has pretty much every single in-joke from B-rated Japanese science fiction movies, from Ultraman to Sentai to the trial storyline I mentioned also included a very dark take on Pokemon, and had Team Rocket as some very theatrical defense attorneys.
So I'm just doodling a concept for some sort of weird thing. Trying to figure out what to do with this nose. Now he's starting to look like a Sagittarius symbol. Maybe I'll just go with that. when I was a kid, I used to come up with I do something that Mad Magazine would do, where they would like they do a phrase
Oh, is that the
like
ones that Al
called
Jaffe did?
like sleeping it off, or feeling an anxiety, you know, and they would draw, you would draw like anxiety being, felt like a blind man would be touching an anxiety, or it was just an interesting way of always having a different monster based on an emotion or something. I think I'll, just to make things interesting for our viewers, work on this for a little bit.
Yeah, and isn't that, there's a Netflix show called Big Head that's kind of like that, isn't? Is it Big Head or Big Mouth?
Oh, Big Mouth. Yes, Big Mouth. I have watched Big Mouth a couple times. And yeah, Big Mouth shows, let's see, there's Love Bugs. There's your Puberty Monster.
Mm-hmm.
I think they even did a spin-off.
Yeah, it's I saw the trailer for that. It was Inhuman Resources or something like that.
That sounds about right. Why can't I get, oh, I'm clicking on the wrong layer. I haven't drawn anything today. I've been doing nothing but paperwork. So I just wanted to doodle a little bit of something. Let's see. Goat's eyes have always freaked me out.
Oh, definitely. And they used it to.
Bill, have you seen any movies since we last spoke?
Yes, I have. I saw that adaptation of the music of Matilda.
Did you like it as much as the first Matilda movie?
The first Matilda, they're different animals. The first Matilda movie is pretty good as well. But this one, and I'm not going to say this one was perfect, but as a fan of movie musicals, this director knew how to film musical numbers. The way they did the climax revolting children number was just brilliant. You might have seen the memes for that one. It's the one that has, if you search for Red Beret Girl, that's from this.
I haven't seen that yet.
And Emma Thompson is having a lot of fun playing the Trunchbull. On another one that I just got myself into, not a movie, but an anime and a manga. But I started getting myself hooked on the manga after lots of people raving about the anime. But have you heard of a anime called Machines? Machine Saw Man.
Yes, I've been watching the anime Machine Saw Man.
I haven't seen the anime yet, but the manga, oh man, the guy's craft is amazing. The page compositions and everything, and this incredible page composition, draftsmanship. It's just a pleasure to look at.
Now, I do know that a lot of people were unhappy with the anime, and there was some fan launched a petition for them to redo it with a different director. And I thought,
I had not heard that. And most of the professional fans I follow pretty much liked it a lot.
So I'm just watching the anime version right now. I did watch a 3-piece masterpiece theater mystery, which I rented it from Netflix, thinking that it was a movie. It's called The Miniaturist.
I don't think I've ever heard of that one.
It's set in Amsterdam, and in the 1700s, and it's all about this woman who marries a rich merchant to save her family, and her wedding present is a miniature house, and she sends a letter to a miniaturist in town, and the miniaturist sends her what she orders and then some additional things that she's very puzzled by, but then later becomes clues to what's happening on in her life that she's unaware of, because it's a very unwelcoming atmosphere when she first arrives. So it's a interesting period drama, and the cinematographers filmed it very much like a Rubens painting. Everything's dark and moody, and it's either, it looks like it's there's influence of veneer, and
I was going to say dark and moody is not adjectives I attribute to Rubens.
Oh, pardon me, Rembrandt.
Yeah, okay.
How about you, Katie? Have you seen anything this week?
We actually had time to watch some movies. So we watched that Glass Onion, Knives Out movie. That was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. And it had a completely different ending than the Knives Out, the first one. So you're not getting the exact same thing that you got in the first movie, but it's still in that fun, cheeky murder mystery vein. And then we've been watching Alice in Borderland. I think I told you, well, the person this painting's for, we went to lunch with him on my birthday, and he was talking about how much he liked it. So we had only watched the first episode, and we'd watched it like twice, but never got past it. So we sat down and started watching Alice in Borderland, and it's a pretty good movie, or I mean show. If you watch Squid Game and you like that, and you like the battle royale type of show, then it's pretty good. And I enjoyed it. I Tim and I were talking, and sometimes it's almost more enjoyable to watch shows in their native language and just read the subtitles, because you're more engrossed in the show. Like, you're not picking up your phone and like looking at your phone while you're watching TV, because you can hear what they're saying. And so I feel like we're more engrossed in it just because we're reading the subtitles. And I found that with other shows too. And I think for some reason, I think there was another movie or show we watched. I just can't remember. But those are like the two big things that have stuck out that we've been viewing the last week. Yeah, I think that's it.
What was interesting is I was watching this show, and then I watched a movie called Amsterdam, which is on Netflix. Really good movie. And I should increase. Hope nobody minds that I'm taking over the screen while I'm drawing. And it was set in the 30s, just after World War II. And I loved the feel of it. I loved the dialogue. I loved where it was going. And the actors that were popping up in it were just wonderful selections. Very much a lot of surprises that I thought were really good. Now I'm wondering, I just tried to do a fill on this. And I must have left, when you do a fill, you drag it over. For some reason, it was coloring the whole background. And what I found really amusing was that one of the actresses in Amsterdam was the main actress in The Miniaturist, which was set in Amsterdam. So it was just I thought it was just a funny coincidence. This looks absolutely terrible.
It looks like the Capricorn symbol.
It is the Capricorn symbol. I thought, you know what, I'll just go ahead with this.
Okay, you are. All right.
But I just need to do something for drawing exercise today. So I think I'll just keep going with it. I'll just use this yellow and just use the erase tool. I'm curious. I know that you guys probably got some wonderful Christmas gifts this year. Which is your favorite so far, and which have you used the most? If I may be so bold to ask.
Oh goodness. Um, the most, well, I had a birthday too. So
Oh, well, you got oodles of gifts then.
yeah, I had a lot going on there. Gosh. Well, I got a mug that it has like a little thing you set it on and it charges and then you can take it away and it keeps your drink warm. And we realized you can put cold water in it and then, turn it on and it'll warm the water to 149 degrees. Um, and so then you can make a little bit of tea while you're sitting at work. And it's not piping hot tea. For me, it's not piping hot tea, but it's still really good. So I've used that 3 or 4 times. And then I got this special blend lotion kit I wanted that comes from Greece, and I've used that a bunch of times. And the interesting birthday present that I'm looking forward to using is we got a dog DNA kit to see what other breeds are in.
Dog DNA.
Yes, for Trenta Louise and Gracie Gray.
That is such a first world gift.
I know, right? So we're probably gonna do Trenta, but phenotype doesn't necessarily always correlate with breed. So even though she has more of the smushy nose, it might not necessarily indicate anything other than she picked up a smushy nose trait. But it'll be interesting to see what else they have in them, since they both have the same mom and dad. And if it works the same as obviously it works the same as humans, but like with my sister and I, because my sister's really into genealogy, even with biologically having the same siblings, you can express like different ancestors than the other one. And so it could happen even with the dogs. So I really want to save up and get another kit so we can test Gracie and Trenta to see if one inherited more traits of a certain breed versus the other. So we'll see how that goes, because I actually show that like I have ancestors, like I'm 2% from, I think it's like the Netherlands, and my sister doesn't have that. And then our mom has like 22% German, which we were like, okay, because our grandmother's family is from Bavaria. And so my grandmother had significant amount of German, but then I didn't have any, but then my sister had a little bit, and then my mom had a significant amount. But if like on Ancestry, it says, we're 100% sisters. So we'll see how my 2 little sisters do. If one shows that, she has, because Trent almost looks like she has that one dog, the Brussels little smush face dog with the big eyes. I can't remember what the full name is, but it would be, and Gracie looks like she has a little bit of Jack Russell Terrier in her. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the only Prince Charles comes to mind. That's a British breed, isn't it? Prince Charles Spaniel. Am I remembering the name correctly?
King Charles? Yeah, isn't it? Or something. I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I'd have to look it up. I drew one day for fun, the Brussels whatever. But yeah, because Trenta's little nose, her little face is a little smushy, but she's such a tiny dog. She only weighs 4 pounds. So Russell Griffon. Yeah. I always want to say Brussels Gryffindor. So that yeah, Trenta's got a little bit of this dog in her, I think. Well, she's expressing it, but maybe not. She might just have a little smush face. I love the way these little dogs' faces look. I just hope they can breathe okay. Let me find one that looks really. The short-haired ones look.
I'll undo the the share. So there you go. You can actually show things.
Oh, let me see. Let me just use my phone because I'm lazy.
Oh, okay.
Can you see it?
Yes.
Yeah, she has a little bit of, yeah, she has a little bit of a smush face like that. I think I've shown the girls on here before. I'll show them next week. I wasn't sure if you had seen a picture of them before or not, Bill. I know.
Not much. Considering I didn't think you had more, considering I thought you only had two, I think I probably haven't.
Yeah, no, I have 4 dogs and a cat.
Some of you might have saw that I was putting a lot of red down on my image earlier. What I'm doing is that sometimes I find that if I put some garish colors down as a shadow and then go back in and reduce the opacity. Yeah, here, I'll show what I mean. I'll go back to sharing. Back when I was learning color theory, one of my teachers really encouraged us to, on warm things like skin, to do cool shadows, and on cool things to do warm shadows, and just to play around with that to see what type of effects we could get. So here I put in a bunch of shadows really poorly on this thing. And as I start reducing down the opacity, right about here, it adds a little bit of definition. Now I'm just trying to decide if that's better with this color. And what I'll do is I'll go back in and just duplicate this layer. And then I'm gonna up the opacity, and then I'll just go into the channels. Let's see, where are the channels?
Isn't it under hue, saturation, and brightness?
Yeah, there we go. Switch it over to something that's similar to the color that was there. And then tone that down. So what's the difference between this one? Oh, yeah, I'll knock that back up. So we got this one, which is basically using a similar color, a green underneath it. And then we have this one, which is a red underneath it. And, you know, I'm still leaning on liking the green one better than the red one. But you never know until you try something how well it's going to turn out. Let's take a look in here. Oh, last year I was doing one drawing a day, where it was, you know, that particular day of the like January 6th was National Cuddle Up Day. Wondering,
I remember that.
maybe I should go back to seeing about doing a full calendar, because I was doing this and then I got busy with other projects and I stopped doing it.
I played with that one for a little while too. I think I had about 10 of them.
Let's see. I'm looking in here to see if I did. I think I kept things pretty simple. This is a National Pizza Pie Day. Yeah, maybe I should start doing that. Oh, here's a good example. Here's when I originally did this design, and I showed it to the client, they said, oh, well, we were imagining maybe the alien being kind of blue, because this was a black and white film. We were kind of imagining that maybe having a stale green, maybe that the alien was blue, or can you do it in purple? And so I thought, purple, that sounds like a really good idea. So I just went over and changed basically the value settings. And it looked so nice that this is what we ended up using for the enamel pin. Just by going in and changing your palette from a warm to cool. Let's see. This was an illustration I did for a Creative Colloquially. It was for a short story for a ghost child. Anyway, I'll stop sharing. Well, Perry, I don't know how much you've gotten out of this group. I don't think there were any questions asked. But this is pretty typical for our gatherings. Sometimes we're very heavy in sharing tips and exchanges, but a lot of time it's just the movies we saw from the week before. So, Katie, I'm wondering, you did a whole series of screaming women. What did you learn from the screaming women that you applied to this screaming man?
Well, I think one of the biggest things that, well, first eye expression, but the second is the jawline and how you hold the mouth. I feel like I did, I understand a little bit more about how you're holding the mouth and then how the jawline needs to be for that scream to look. Because I didn't spend half as much time. Well, I didn't even spend a third of the time that I normally spend developing his face. I'm not 100% happy with his face, but it's one of those things where I leave it hanging up and then I walk by it, multiple times a day. And then all of a sudden I realize what's wrong. I'm still kind of, and of course, I always pick the pictures with like the most awkward. Like I look at the picture and then I look at what I'm painted and I'm like, yeah, no, this is just an awkward picture to, try to translate into a piece of art anyway. But yeah, the jawline's a big one. And then like how the mouth is shaped and then how the person's eyes are. Like people don't realize like how Patrick Stewart's eyes are until you actually have to, really, because in a lot of he smiles when he smiles or he is expressive with his face, his eyes actually close. And he doesn't really have that big of eyes to begin with. And of course, the older which he wasn't that old in Dune, he's just like everyone else. His upper eye starts to sag a little bit. So it's like, you don't want to make him look 100 years old, but you also want to show what expression he does have in his eyes. So
yeah, I mean, I know what you mean. The youngest role I ever saw him was as Sejanus in I, Claudius.
Yeah, I, Claudius, that was a really good British miniseries.
Yeah, so I think he's just not, well, especially with this facial expression. I think the hardest part of this was getting the nose, and I'm not even 100% satisfied with his nose because his nose was tilted up in the air at an odd angle, and I'm like, why do I torture myself? But but I've been torturing myself for what, like 2 years now. I always pick the worst. Oh, but yeah, I think what I've learned. I still want to do some more screaming ladies. A lot of people don't appreciate screaming pictures, but I pretty much love all of them. So but yeah, when I get done with this, I got to get back to my They Live cat, but I wanted to get this done. My picture last year for him for his birthday, I didn't get to him until Crypticon.
Oh.
So that tells you how long it took me to get it done. So I wanted to finish.
Just whack this one out.
Especially because his birthday is on Christmas. It's like, you don't want to be that person that says, I'm sorry, I didn't do your present on time because I was celebrating Christmas instead of worrying about your birthday and then my birthday. So sorry. But I think he'll appreciate it. He's a lover of pugs. I actually think he is going to like the Persian cat They Live picture too. I almost finished it and gave it to him. And I was like, no, I can't do it. Like, I got to be a businesswoman sometimes. And that's going to get turned into a poster. So he can have a copy of the poster, but.
Well, believe it or not, folks, it's 5:30. You managed to waste yet another hour here at Epic Sketch Time. I want to thank everyone who showed up today. We had a few new faces. And I hope you come back. Feel free to contact me at my name located in the corner there at comcast.net. My name at comcast.net, and I will add you to our email list, which gets a reminder in advance every week. So you don't have to keep subscribing to Eventbrite. Also, this link that you use today is the same link we use every week until I make a mistake and we get rated or something, which has happened a couple times in the past.
Oh, yes.
But not for at least a year now. So anyway, it was nice talking to you guys. Oh, also there's a possibility that I'll be unavailable to do the weekly dose, the Epic Sketch Time on the 31st, as I know my mom has to go to the dentist, but I don't know what time, and she lives in Hansville, so I may not be able to get back. I'll let you know if I have to cancel that day or not.
Okay.
I'll see you